Critical EDH. Think outside the bun. I'm Eric, and I'm here with...
I'm Logan.
And we're here with this week's episode of Keeping Tabs in cEDH.
We've got a lot of new stuff going on this week, and a lot of things we're excited to share with you. So hopefully you stick with us, and we'll just get right into it.
Yeah, right off the bat, we have something new and improved. Esper Sentinel. You've played it. You've probably cast it quite a few times, but we have just released the Critical EDH League, and we have a foil signed Esper Sentinel that is a first place prize. Now, how is first place going to be determined? It's a league, so it's going to be ad hoc games by pinging people in the server. You can get access to it either by being a Patreon member, a paid Patreon member, or a paid Discord member. All the info is in the channels, but I think the big needs to know is this week we're actually testing out the Japanese point system. So every game you're wagering this year, it's this decade.
So yeah, this league, it's gonna run about a month, maybe a little bit longer every time we do a league. This is our first one. We're calling it the May League, and in this case, we're gonna try to do something every month to like kind of shake it up a little bit and see what players like and what they think. This time we're doing the Japanese point system, and I think the context of the league kind of changes it a bit because we're not playing in a closed tournament, so it's not like a 1 day or a 2 day thing where you're trying to get all those points. This is kind of like over the course of like many games, and you could be you're not getting paired up with random players. You're just pairing with who's available. So you might get paired up against, let's say, Church, for example. He won the first game. And so now he's got, instead of 1,000 points, he has 1210.
Something, 1210? Okay.
1210. And so, like, if you get paired up against him and then you win a game against Church, you're actually winning more points than you would against the average player. So it's kind of a way to, like, catch up and have these unique situations happen where... you might join a little bit later and you're like, oh, I'm just going to crush a couple games. And then, we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, it's we have a couple kind of like guidelines in place. If you've played in online leagues before, you'll probably be pretty familiar with them. One is that, be nice. While we aren't necessarily going to, we absolutely will not be in every game taking place in the league. It is going to be on our Discord server, so we really hope that the games represent the kind of spirit that we bring to tournament games. Another one is obviously judge calls are really important things in any cEDH game, so you'll be able to ping the server and someone can kind of hop in, as well as something we're requesting is that if at all possible, at least one person tries to stream the game just to help us kind of keep each other accountable. For specifically like win trading can become a problem in leagues. We are kind of like
we're playing it really cautiously. Yeah. We're very cognizant of these issues that have plagued online play, especially like cheating and stuff like that. The league is not so high stakes that you're gonna want I don't think there's like a huge incentive to cheat. But that said,
there is a huge incentive to win. I want that Esper Sentinel.
Yeah, we're just trying to play it cautious and try to keep people accountable and first and foremost, like have fun and have a good environment for learning. I know for me personally, I find it hard to play games if there's not really anything on the line. And sometimes that on the line is just me trying to learn and trying to get better. And then that's enough. But if I hear that there's like prizing and I'm like, oh, there's like super low stakes, but like I can compete and I can be competitive. I'm looking for that environment. So I think that's the kind of thing that we're trying to foster here. We've already have 36 people signed up in 2 days. In 2 days, we have 36 people signed up. And like Eric was saying, if you're already a Patreon member, a paid Patreon member, you get league access included for free as part of your Patreon benefits. If you prefer not to use Patreon, you can also sign up on Discord. There's a simple subscription there that you can use to get league access. Other than that, there's a game firing right now. We had one earlier today. We had a bunch last night, and overall, I sat in on a few of them, and there's a lot of people spectating and just trying to get like a feel for the vibes, and everything was good. It was really good.
Aside from the fact that we're going to try and be testing stuff like the Japanese point system, another thing that is kind of unique about this league is while you can't use the Moxfield play tester, we are letting people play on Tabletop Simulator if all 4 players are able to join the game and be a part of the lobby. Something that we hear a lot about is that sometimes people don't have the accessibility of like a good webcam setup or connection issues or various things. And so we are also testing out more ways for more people to play cEDH. Because we just care so much both about like the community of our viewers, but also just the format as a whole. And so I'm really excited about the possibility both of people getting to play a lot of games kind of within our community, but also to test stuff and bring more people in that may not have been able to play cEDH otherwise.
So I don't know about you, but for me, Tabletop Simulator was one of those games on Steam I had that I picked up in like a random sale and was like sitting and rotting in my library for like, I don't know, 10 years or something. And then like I actually got introduced by one of our friends, Jay, to like, oh, hey, there's like a really good mod that's totally free.
It's
that
incredible.
You can play 4-player cEDH or EDH on. It imports all your decks. You basically just take a Moxfield list and just paste it in.
It's super chill.
The cool thing is you can manipulate the cards like they're real cards. And you can resolve things like Praetor's Grasp correctly. You can resolve Mnemonic Betrayal correctly, where that's really, really hard over a spell table. But anyway, Tabletop Simulator is great. We have a short little guide in our Discord about how to use it. And then the thing that you missed is that if for some reason you have people in your local area that are in this league, if you record a game or if you want to play in person, you can do that.
Whoa!
So we're totally.
You want to play a game later?
We're totally okay with that. I think it's within reason. You know, we'll test it. We'll see if it sticks around. But you know, I know our community is very geographically diverse.
Yeah.
But there's like pockets of people out there. So if you want to get together, or you're at a convention or tournament or something, like, oh hey, there's 4 leaguers here. Like you want to get a league game in, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
So we're totally down for that.
We're definitely starting with trying to see how much we can make work, and then as we get feedback from the community, like, oh, this is like really clunky, or oh, we're into a lot of problems with this, we'll kind of start whittling stuff down. So if this is something you're interested in, we'd love for you to be a part of it.
Absolutely.
And if you're a part of it and you have feedback, let us know. We really want to hear from you because not only do we want to improve as CDH players, but we want to help improve CDH as a whole, and your feedback is a great way of allowing us to do that, at least within the space of this league.
Yeah, and the last thing I want to say is we're really looking for a way to be a part of playing games with our community in a meaningful manner, and that's kind of what I was alluding to earlier, where we could just like pop open random spell table games and like those are fine, but like if we're playing for points, like, oh, that's so much more fun,
dude. I want to have
like something on the line.
When you lose, I want to take something from you.
I'm taking your 30 points or whatever, dude.
I want it to mean something.
Yeah.
No, that's so true. That's our league. Join it.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of Patreon, all the details for the league are down here. And then I did want to announce our 1K subscriber giveaway. Basic Lich, congrats. You get those 2 cards and a play mat. This one, maybe not. It's been on Logan's couch for like a month. We'll get you a good one. We'll get it signed, and that's if you want it signed.
If you want it signed.
But we'll definitely get it out to you. And I will take the burden on this one. I've been slacking our first giveaway. Man, that feels like it's so long ago, but it really wasn't. It is sitting on my counter. I need to ship it out. Okay. So we'll get that out to you.
Gotcha. Thank you again for the 1K subs.
Yep.
Speaking of Ks, if you go to the Lango Open in Nashville, Tennessee, there's going to be 10,000 of them. 10K. It's a top deck points eligible platinum event. If you have been a part of their events before, we got to go to one in the Colorado Springs. It was run super well, very tight tournament, very competitive. And time is running out to sign up. It is May 24th, which is not far away at all.
No. And use code critical10 to get 10% off your entry. But we will be there. I think we're actually trying to bring in an extended team so we can handle some of the commentary and streaming and stuff like that. But we will be there in force. So,
and if you are there, and you're part of our Discord, be paying attention to the event channel, because we'll be doing what we did at SCG Con, which is where if we're doing any meetups or if we're trying to get together to play games, we're going to try and keep as much of our communication in that channel as possible.
We're going to get a league game together here.
But thank you again to the Lango guys. Super duper excited for this tournament. And dude, it is going to be awesome. And can't wait to see you guys there.
And thanks for sponsoring us for this video and many others. Speaking of tournaments coming up,
Mortal Kombat.
In the last video called it Mortal Kombat, which is, I mean, they do have that machine there. But yeah, we're super excited for this. It's selling out pretty well. I think it's about a quarter full right now. And we were just kind of doing a little bit of like word of mouth at our local tournament, and we're like, hey, you guys gonna go? And everyone's like, oh yeah, I just haven't signed up yet. So like, I think spots are gonna continue to fill up really quickly. Gold Sabertooth did this awesome art for the playmat, and we will have variations of this playmat for top 16, top 4, and first place as well. And they will all be very distinctly different. But this is the general availability playmat. And Crom is just absolutely crushing Ragthrass and Glarb over here. This is the Jason power fantasy.
Yeah. Oh man, Ragthrass is being beat up so bad he like wishes he cost mana.
But yeah, it's cool. It's like we got our logo here. We got approval to get the Dave & Buster's logo on here. And then kind of down in the corner, it's kind of hard to see right by Eric, is the Enchanted Grounds logo. That's our local store that's hosting the tournament with us.
Something I'm excited about for this tournament is I think it's going to be the first big tournament we'll be going to after the Final Fantasy set comes out.
It'll be the first big tournament that we've been to in Denver since Snowy Summit 2.
Ooh. Time to take down another one.
We'll see if I can hold the Denver crown, I guess, right?
Defend the title at the Mile High Melee.
What was the other thing? We are continuing to add more and more information on this page, so please check it out. As of recording, this is 33 days from now, so about a month. If you look down here, the really neat thing is that if you take the train from the Denver airport, if you're flying in, take the train right from the airport, go to Union Station, and then Union Station right down to Dave & Buster's. It is a 4-minute walk from the train station. And then there's hotels nearby, which we're still getting the information on the hotels from Dave & Buster's. That will be up here soon. And then we've got a guest list that just keeps expanding. Our own Jason will be there. Freedom Waffle, Tim, Gold Sabertooth will be there. The Blight Club, one of our, the local Colorado extension of them will be there. Wounded Satellite, and most importantly, Suki will be there.
Suki Sternberg. I think, kind of going back to our roots at Snowy Summit, a lot of our initial interest in this channel came from, like, we just played so much cEDH in Denver, and we're like, there's so many high quality players here. Like, even just going to random pickup games on a Wednesday night, like, oof, you got to bring your A game. And so I am super excited to be at another tournament where all the Denver locals, all the big names are going to be there. And if you've been looking to like go to a tournament and you want to test your mettle, I think this would be a really good one to kind of see if you've got the stuff it takes to take down Suki Sternberg.
We'll actually talk about this a little bit later because we have our level 7 weekly that we are going to go over, and you'll see some really big names on that list. So we'll talk about our local scene a little bit more later. But yeah, for now, this is the Mile High Melee, Mortal Kombat 1, and we hope to see you there. Cool comment we got this week. So from our community, can you read that name? It's a little far from me.
It is Sandra Ellison 2445.
I feel like we just doxed someone.
I didn't say the @ sign before their name, so I think they're good.
Oh, okay.
Sandra's comment was, possible discussion topic for a future episode. You got your wish. Do you think cEDH is an actual competitive format? Seems a lot of games are decided by dice rolls and spike plays. See, when I get my wins, it feels like luck. And my friends and I walked away from the Fishbowl tournament almost completely giving up on the format because of the way the tournament games played out. Then right below them, we have True Nephite responding. We have very consistent players routinely topping events. That shows that there is definitely a skill level to the format, which leads to the idea that you can indeed make an argument that it is a viable, competitive format.
So I have a question to ask you before we even start, or we'll use this as a jumping off point. As we play more and more cEDH, as we learn more about the format, do you think things are more or less random? Or more or less based on luck?
What a great question. I think about that all the time. I think that there are aspects that are far more random than I would have guessed when I first started playing. But I think the impact that those have on tournament standings are a lot smaller than I would have liked based off my initial tournament performance. The more and more I play...
Can you give like a specific example of what you mean?
I would say turn order, I think, is something that's kind of like on everyone's minds right now. Where like if you get third and fourth seat all throughout Swiss, it is an uphill battle. Like that is a way where like dice rolls can just really not go your way. But then once you're at the table, people will, say like, oh, I had to mulligan down to like 3 or 4 like every single time and I was super unlucky. Which is the way I felt at like my first tournament. But now I've gotten to the point where like I am almost looking for that mulligan down to 3 or 4 because I now have the experience to know that like I don't think it's possible for me to get unlucky when I'm mulliganing. It just depends on if the hands I'm seeing represent the game plan that I have decided I want to go for in that pod.
I find that if I'm like mulliganing very, very low, I start looking at the deck and going, is there something baseline like construction level wrong that I need to fix? But yeah, I mean, like you and I both mulligan very low looking for certain things because we know that they win games. So like if I don't get it, okay, but like there's probably something in my deck that gets me there. Yeah. And even if it's not like A directly to B, it's like A to B to C to D. Like, and then like I still get there anyway. And then like if it's too late, then it's not me going, oh, well, I'm blaming like variance on that. Like it's just I don't really see the game in through that lens. And like the more that I play, the less I see the randomness. I see it as like kind of solved.
Yeah, like I think the mulliganing is just one example, but I think that's a great way of like one of the ways I prepare for variance. I don't know if we talked about this. Is after I put decks together when I'm gold fishing, I start at 4. I don't. I don't start at 7 and work my way down. I start with the assumption that I've already seen and pitched 4 hands, and so now I have to find 4 to keep. Or I can go down to 3, and I usually don't go below 3. But for me, that's I want to be playing a deck that can go that deep, and I can still be in the game and doing things by turn 3. And so that's just one of the ways I have begun to alter the way I look at the game, to give variance like less of a seat at the table. I also think that another thing I used to just think was really unlucky was like, oh, I drew like 20 cards and it was like all lands, or I drew like 20 cards and I didn't see a single counter spell.
So you have too many lands in your deck. I think a lot of it comes down to deck construction issues and holdovers from casual EDH where we're not used to playing with like a lot of tutors or a lot of powerful cards in general, or things that draw you cards, or things that turn like let's say the backside of Bergie, where you flip it and you go, okay, well I have 5 cards in hand, now I can turn those into 10 cards. Yeah. And like you're not used to having those tools, but like to me that takes 5 cards that might do nothing. And then are you telling me that 10% of your deck or more than 10% of your deck does also nothing? Like that would go back to like a deck construction issue most likely. Like sometimes you get screwed on variance and that happens, but that is such an outlier at this point that like it's not really crossing my mind and I'm not really worried about it.
Something I would want to speak to though is this the first player's experience at Fishbowl. I think I also had a similar experience at Fishbowl, especially my first day of I lost a lot of games and I just didn't understand why. Like there's some moments I could look back and I was like, oh, I made the wrong decision. Or like there's a situation where I had to mulligan down to 3 and 4th seed and first seed was able to keep the first 7 kind of stuff. But also there were other situations where the game was just so long, there was so much going on that looking back, I just like couldn't identify what it was that I could have done better to.
Are you saying at the time, or what do you like? Do you still hold that same opinion now?
I think I would look at it differently now, but I think I'm exceptionally privileged to have been able to go to like 15 plus tournaments since Fishbowl. And I don't think a lot of players have access to that many tournaments in such a short period of time, as well as I have a lot of great players like you and Jason who are also really high ranked that I can rely on. And so I think that kind of helped speed up the time I would have spent in this space as well. I think if you are in a space where you're losing a lot and it feels like it's coming down to luck, I would highly encourage find some way, even if you just have to like pay for a coaching session with like Jason or Freedom Waffle, or find someone who is winning and is either playing the type of deck you want to play or winning in the type of meta that you have, and figure out what it is that they're doing, because chances are they aren't winning just because of luck.
Yeah, I think that was going to be the point that I would make, would be if you're losing because of luck and you feel like the format is luck based, then these people are outliers and statistically impossible for them to be doing this well consistently. It is just not mathematically possible for Freedom Waffle to win events based on luck, which means that he's cheating. And I've seen him play, and he's not cheating.
Definitely not.
Right? Yeah. He's just good. Yeah. And like he's better than I am. So like I'm constantly looking for ways to improve myself, right? So I think that's a good point. Like there are luck-based elements, and that's what kind of makes us like the game. And like if there was no luck, then you couldn't express skill in a way that's meaningful, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that's something that the distraction makers talk a lot about on their channel that I like. They describe randomness as an important aspect of games that prevent it from being like a solved equation. And I like that as well. But also, once there's money on the line and once you put a lot of effort into, you know, let's say you're a blue farm player and you've been trying to get really, really good at blue farm, and then you go and you just lose to every Kinnan deck. There are both elements of that, of where you need to get better at the matchup that are inside of your control. And there are also elements that are outside of your hands that are innate to the format and that you have to accept. And what I thought were in each of those two piles has changed a lot over the course of my cEDH career.
I think weighing the odds is something that you continue to do and you will continue to value as you play more cEDH. And this can go down to even small spells like casting Gamble. If you're casting Gamble to try to find an early Rhystic study or something like that, casting a Gamble when you have 3 cards in hand is way different than casting a Gamble when you have 6 or 7 cards in hand, right? But is the chance worth making because of the particular, you know, situation or whatever? And sometimes you get screwed regardless of whether you have 6 cards in hand or if you have 3 cards in hand. But on the off, you know, the other side of that, sometimes you win. But like you don't remember the times you win the flip. Right. You remember times you lose the flip because it feels bad. Humans are designed to store the things that feel bad and go, I don't want to experience that anymore.
Never again.
Right? Like winning is sweet. Like, but I remember winning Snowy Summit 2 and like that felt great. But like I'm not feeling great now because I won Snowy Summit 2 months ago. I'm feeling bad because I'm like, oh, I made this boneheaded play like last night or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to, like, humans are not designed to, in some ways we are designed to use the reward systems to positively reward ourselves. But we're also really designed to stay away from danger, stay away from like things that are negative. So just be aware of that.
Yeah. I think that, you know, I'll say this and then it might be time to move to the next tab.
That's fine.
One of the things I am learning is both the importance of tournament endurance, because I'll make it in top 16 and I will be as you know, as fried as can be, and then, you know, Pigeon will be right across from me, just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and before the match even starts, I'm like, fuck. So within a tournament, it's important to kind of conduct yourself in a way that you have like a consistent energy level throughout the day. I also think that if you're interested in growing as a cEDH player, you also need to kind of have an endurance level there, because especially when it comes to growing, most of the like meaningful and really impactful changes you are going to make are going to be very boring and uninteresting aspects of gameplay.
It's like fundamentals.
Yeah.
Like nobody likes doing calisthenics and cardio and like all that crap. Like, but it's really just like improve your fundamentals, and then everything will kind of like trickle down from there. Yeah. I do think we should kind of address the question like specifically. I didn't feel anything about Fishbowl in particular because we were both there that was like stand out from tournaments. Like I didn't do particularly well. I did okay. You didn't do great. But like we didn't leave feeling like, dang, we just both got screwed by variance or like randomness or whatever. Like sometimes you just don't have it. But also if you're less experienced and you go like feet first into one of these giant events, for lack of a better phrase, like what do you expect? Like you got to kind of build yourself up to these bigger events and start playing on a small scale, start winning on a small scale, then start winning on a medium scale. And then it's like, okay, keep going, keep progressing.
I'm still working on losing on a medium scale, but maybe that's an area where we can improve together.
Anyway, thank you for the comment.
Yeah.
We really do appreciate it. And we did think about it for quite a while.
Yeah.
So
thinking about it.
We wanted to talk about two kind of interesting tournaments that happened. The first one is Birdcage 3. And we really wanted to just quickly go over this, not do quite a top 16 breakdown. But we thought it would be important to show that some unique decks are really doing well. And like, yes, Blue Farm won this tournament. But in the top 4, we also have Ralatro or Rao, Zerda, which is a friend of the channel, Wayne. Congrats, Wayne, on getting third. And then Elsha. So like, that's a really cool top 4 pod.
And I think that, and we have this conversation a lot, or maybe I just think about it a lot. Like, oh, what's the best deck, or we're the top 3? There's always this kind of like revolving door. And do I think that like this means that Zerda is ready to eat Blue Farm's lunch? Maybe not quite. Like
I think Wayne is,
but I think Wayne is a great example of a player having played with and against them, where they have kind of going back to that fundamentals, improved so much as a player that they now can afford to step into a more kind of like fringe shell or fringe deck and be able to take down other Blue Farm players. And for me, this is a good reminder. That like there are always going to be cards that are the strongest and the weakest. That's just how having like a power range and a power scale works.
Well, but that's competitive stuff.
That's pawns are not as powerful in chess as the queen, right? But
they serve a purpose though. It's usually to die,
to sacrifice themselves for me,
calling the weak.
But that like. The narrative that like, oh, I'm just going to like play this like random 2-color deck. Rao's also 2 colors, and I just really enjoy specific combos in the deck, and I'm just gonna keep playing it until me as a cEDH player gets to the point where I can do really really well. Is a narrative that can see success in tournament play. I think one of the things we talk about is, are you playing to win and are you playing to prove a point? And both can get you to top 4.
Well, both win, right?
Yeah.
So yeah,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And the other thing is, like, we talked about statistics, we talk about variance. We say that Blue Farm is the strongest deck in the format, but it's like a couple percentage points above Kinnan in conversion rate. Like it's not winning 50% of the games. It's winning like 30% of the games or whatever. Like more than it should, which means that it's the best, but it's not winning the lion's share of games.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be curious about your thoughts on this. Having not played during like Hogak Summer or like Siege Rhino or anything.
That's not me either.
Having mainly played cEDH, I do not think there are any oppressive decks or cards in the format right now.
You don't think that there are?
I don't think so. I think that it's really hard to not be in blue. I think it's really, really difficult to not be in blue.
I was in a pod not too long ago where there were 3 Blue Farms, and I think I was on Rogsai. And I think that I was saying to myself, dang, I'm like 3/4 as good as they are. Like, I'm not in white, but like, I think I copied a Grand Ablacher and then won. So like, it was fine. But yeah, I don't know that that's oppressive. I wasn't sitting there going, man, my back is really up against the wall.
Yeah.
But also I was kind of saying to myself, dang, they just seem to have everything. They just seem to have like an answer, or they seem to have something. Card wise, I mean, the obvious answer is like Rhystic Study, but I think Smother and Tithe is way worse.
Yeah.
Because if you find an outlet for Tithe, you have omniscience.
Oh yeah, it's so, and that's where like the two cards kind of like feed off each other, and not every deck has access to both. And yeah, I think that if I were in a pod with 3 blue farms, I would definitely be like, oh boy, I am just gonna.
But like,
I'll pass priority.
But 3 cannons feel the same way.
Yeah,
like, it's
I think
just,
if you put
you
3 of
play
any
you play
deck,
strong decks. It's
I don't think it's definitely pretty common in tournaments. I think for there to be mirror matches, like 2 blue farms or 2 cannons in a pod.
Sure,
but I don't know. Aside from like the very, very early days of Nadu, I don't know if I've ever played in a CDH match that had 4 of the same commander or 3 of the same commander.
Yeah.
And so for me, and maybe that's just the difference between a 1v1 format or like a 4-player format.
I'm going to talk out of my ass for a second. I hear about Modern and how like Breach was more than 50% of the meta share or the meta game when that was legal. And I think that is where you start to dive into the waters of there's some core issues that need to be addressed,
yeah.
Right? Because even the decks that aren't playing Breach that are doing well, they're sideboarding for Breach. They're trying to find answers for it. They're so hyper aware, and obviously the context is different. It's a 1v1 format, not a 4-player format, but we're not quite at that point. Blue Farm is the strongest, but there's always going to be a boogeyman. There's always going to be the strongest deck, and I'm fine with where it's at right now.
Yeah. I think that like Blue Farm is kind of in this balance of it is in the most colors while still having like a very strong identity and like a core shell. And you know, there are definitely Blue Farm lists that are stronger than others, but there's not. But it's not like a solved list. Like people are always testing.
It's very
stuff and trying
flexible.
it out, and
there's distinct and different styles of it. Like Jason's on the Tremnick style. We saw Connor at our locals being on a very different style.
Super different. Yeah.
And then we see like the West Coast Angel's Grace and other stuff that I don't think should be run style. I'm just playing. I lost in Angel's Grace. I'm salty. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's cEDH is not solved. It's far from it. And I think what we're trying to show is that there's other options that still win. And even like Heliod, the Radiant Dawn, the flip Heliod.
You got Narset out there. Yeah, and then let's go ahead and look at the other one. This one's also crazy. An Atali one, right? A Master of Keys took second place, right? You know, there's two Magdas up here.
What is this? Ragthrass, and then another Heliod.
And you do see 2 blue farms, right? But also, right, and I think I feel like we are speaking to the tournament play experience.
Yes.
When I sit down at a pod and I see like a blue farm, I definitely have like my eye on them, but I'm not like, damn, I'm about to get my ass beat. I'm just like they have a really high density of like good cards. And you know,
the interesting thing about Blue Farm is that it plays powerful cards, but there's no secret at all about what it's doing.
Yeah.
So I'm not using my brain power and going, oh my god, Atali's gonna flip who knows what out of their own deck, because I just can't conceptualize what Atali is playing. Like I know what Blue Farm's playing, so despite that it being powerful, I'm like not using a lot of brain energy on what they're doing.
Well, yeah, and like Cavern of Souls on human, Grand Debalcher is really, really strong, and so is Otawara. There are no problems that Blue Farm creates that other decks are unable to solve. I think it is efficient enough that players who
it's just really good at creating a lot of problems.
It's really good at creating a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And cEDH presents such a litany of problems that I think that if you're a really good player, it offers a level of efficiency that lets you navigate games really, really well.
You top 16 on Kodama Ishai in a big tournament. And that's because of your creative skill. You and I had worked on the list, and actually mostly it was you, but you used an offshoot of my Kodama Silas list and some of the techniques, and I was like, hey, these are really cool. I think they're really powerful combos and stuff like that. But like, I wasn't there piloting with you. It was you. You played it, right? You made top 16. I didn't. And then like, there's space to do those things and to win on unique and cool decks.
Yeah, which was a ton of fun. And do I think that like it's the meta buster and everyone should be playing it. I don't think I could make that argument. I mainly put it together, because I saw you playing Kodama Silas. I'm like, oh, that's fun. I haven't been able to play with Bright Glad Gearhold before. Let's throw some white in there. And then just playing the deck was a lot of fun. And then it's just the I am enjoying the space that at least the Denver meta is in right now, where while there's definitely, like the boogeyman's of the format, like Blue Farm, there is still room for creativity. There is still room for innovation. And when people are out there brewing stuff that's in sets that are about to come out, or finding these cards that have been out forever and just no one's ever heard of, they're not wasting their time, but there still is room to improve and room for you to find your niche in the format.
And we talk a lot about the health of the format, and that's even what the question was being asked earlier. I think this is a good indication that the format is healthy. There's a lot of diversity going on, and while we're just looking at the commanders, we're not even looking at the cards that are being played. I've seen so many cards that I'm like, what does this do? Can I read this? Can you explain? Does anyone know what this does at the table? Is this a problem? Should I be countering
sudden
this?
Substitution was not on my 2025 bingo card.
No.
Oboro Breeze Caller, where did that come from?
Right. So we're seeing all these innovations and new techniques and new play styles, and it's just such an interesting place to be right now. It's great.
Yeah, super fun. And once again, unfortunately, we don't have time to go through all the decks, all the 99. But congrats to the players in these tournaments. I'm sure they were and deserve to be very, very proud of their performance.
Yep.
On this tab, speaking of performance, Saturday's tournament.
So we have a weekly tournament at level 7 North, which is on 84th and Umatilla Street, somewhere north of Colorado. As far south as we are, it's equally north. So we travel 45 minutes up on every Saturday. And it's it used to be 20 people, and then it slowly got to 28. Now it's 30. And then last weekend it was 39.
Yeah.
And that's not the biggest one they've even had, but it's good to see that the numbers are just staying high. So we're seeing a lot of really, really strong players here. Connor sucks, so not him. Anyway, Jonah, he's from MTG Basics. He's good. Jacob is the resident Narset, 6-mana Narset player. We'll see Pigeon here, kind of here.
Some random guy in number 5.
Yeah, Eric, he's bad too. Haynes, God, he's so good.
He's so good.
Bryant plays Rowan.
Rowan, yeah.
And there's me. Kevin's the Elsha player we were talking about before. It's just there's so many heavy hitters in this area, and are $10 buy-in. This is exactly what I was talking about. We want to be competitive. We will do anything to be competitive, even if it's a $10 buy-in.
Yeah, I don't care what I have to do to whom. I will. I will improve as a cEDH player.
Yeah.
I love Bryant on Rowan. Any Denver tournament you go to, if you go to Mortal Kombat, you'll see this. Within 10 minutes, 2 pods are going to stand up. The one pod where someone got a really quick Thassa's Oracle, and the other one where they just got their ass beat by Rowan.
Sometimes Bryant stands up by himself, which means that he killed himself.
Yeah.
But
either way, you can set your watch by it.
He's been converting a lot more than not lately, which is super awesome to see.
Yeah.
We wanted to just kind of talk about our weekly tournament and some of the things we've been experiencing here, just like those 2 tournaments we talked about just before this. And yeah, when we saw Blue Farm, Jason was on Glarb. He was trying the Glarb challenge. He didn't quite make it. He's down at 12th or something. And you were on what? Kinnan?
I was on Kinnan. I actually got the chance to play against Connor, who was on Blue Farm. He's been on a bit of a journey, I think.
Oh, he's been crushing it lately.
Yeah,
I'm just fucking with him.
He is on a tear. I am taking against you. I am the one who knocks. See you Saturday. Just kidding. I lose to him all the time. That's I have no chance against him. But yeah, if you want to go to the next tab, this was the deck I was on. It's called Copycat Kinnan. It's no bad cards, but way worse.
You were super into the copy.
It was.
I saw you resolve a stunt double, and I'm like,
Yeah.
brother, what are you doing?
I'm on stunt double, malleable imposter. I think I recently.
What is malleable imposter? Where is it? Point it out to me.
It's here we go, right here.
This thing?
Yeah.
Oh my god, it has flash.
And so basically the thesis for this, one, I am well aware that there are way better Kinnan lists and way better Kinnan pilots. But picking up the deck, I was just like, what would be fun for me? And I just like copy effects in general, but also whenever I play against a Kinnan, I always see these cards like Hullbreaker, and I'm like, what if there were two of them?
I think you were telling me a story earlier when we were eating dinner about how you had 3 Hullbreaker horrors.
Yeah, in my first game, I had 3 Hullbreaker horrors on the field, which my opponents collaborated against me to exile all three of them. They did a really good job. And then the following turn, I had 2 Nezahals.
But no.
Oh, no, not Nezahals. Tidespout Tyrants.
Oh, that's like, yeah.
And so I had a similar experience where it's as people started trying to interact with my board, I was just like flipping and then, just copying things. Or I think we're just in a really creature-heavy meta, and Simic is really, really strong in Denver right now. So instead of like playing good stuff, I figured I could just copy all of your good stuff. And it was
Commandeer. Okay. Misdirection. Oh, so it's like the very counterspell heavy.
Mm-hmm. It's
19 artifacts.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not even on that many of my lists, which we'll talk about shortly.
I really enjoyed this. It was just a really fun, kind of quick, fast way of playing. Obviously, I am a greedy goblin, so I'm on Copy Enchantment, Mirror Maid, and Rhystic Study.
Okay.
I debated going on Still Enchantment as well, but I was like, no, Eric, 3 Rhystic Studies is enough. But I just enjoyed. I think I really took to heart when we were talking with Max and Ian, Wounded Satellite and Comedian, when we were at the Too Deep event, and they were talking about the importance of being capable of like improving in cEDH games. And so I kind of built this around kind of forcing me to put together wins with what my opponents had on board. And it just led to some really interesting puzzle solving, and I felt very mentally engaged throughout the night.
That's cool.
And also, the Kitten's just crazy busted.
So because of the number of players we had, we did 3 rounds instead of our normal 4. Mm-hmm. Normally we'll do like 4 and then cut the top 4. We did 3 and then cut the top 10. Mm-hmm. How did you do in the first 3?
First 3, I won the first 2, and then we were debating if we're going to intentionally draw on the third game, but since seat 1 and seat 2 we're going to get a bye, we decided to play it out because everyone wanted the bye, and then we ended up drawing anyways, and it came down to opponent win percentage. Which meant I had to play for, which you were in as well. It was
so we did meet in top 10, but I do want to briefly talk about the deck I was playing.
I love this deck so much. Tell me about it, Logan.
I very early on in my cEDH career started by playing Maelstrom Wanderer because I just liked the card. Mm-hmm. I was actually doing pretty well, all things considered, with it. That was when Dockside was around, so I could kind of turbo out of Maelstrom Wanderer and then kind of go into other stuff from there. Obviously, we don't have that anymore, so I kind of parked it for a while and said maybe I'll return to it if I think things can like stabilize enough, or if I can get it out or do something effective with it. And turns out like it's not that bad. It's kind of jamming on like turn 3 consistently. And that's really like the hands I'm looking for. Is you have a ton of mana and a ton of just combos that are enabled by your everything has haste, which is like the whole point of the commander. The commander is super cool because if you have enough mana, if the deck is built in such a way like this one is, you're almost guaranteed to flip into something. Yeah. And who knows what that could be?
we're gonna find out together.
It could be any number of things. So the commander is really cool because it has a cast trigger, which cannot be inherently countered. You can counter the things that it casts, which is fine. But the other cool thing is if someone copies your Maelstrom Wanderer, they don't get the Cascade triggers. They don't get anything from you. You're just like, haha. Like, so it's a really low value copy for decks like yours, which I'm very aware of. And then like Teamer is cool because you get to run a lot of cool giant stuff.
Yeah, this is like the opposite of Ragthrass. I mean, if you zoom out, you're making a bunch of mana and then comboing off in these really difficult to interact with ways. But zooming in, show me a Ragthrass on Apex Devastator.
Sometimes you just have a lot of mana, and sometimes you need somewhere to put it.
Yeah.
This is a good place.
This I think, if I recall, this, not this list specifically, but this commander and this kind of like archetype was the first deck you took to a tournament, right?
Yeah, I did pretty well.
Yeah, I think you top 16.
Yeah, no, I top.
I think you top 16. I think you
got like 6 or something like that. Yeah,
I think you got taken out by German Dave, who then lost to Luca in top 4.
Yeah.
Congrats, Luca.
Something like that. I don't know. I don't know. Dave won the tournament. Anyway.
Okay.
Neither here nor there. That was a while ago. That was almost a year ago, actually.
But yeah, I think typically issues you run in decks like this that are kind of commander centric and that are like just really, really strong is you're going to pay 6 mana to get a Tivit out, and I'm going to pay 2 blue to copy it with my Flesh Duplicate. But that just does not work with Maelstrom Wanderer. And then also you're in colors that reward you for just making a crap ton of mana.
You've got excellent dorks.
Super good dorks.
You've got really good payoffs, like both Atalis, because you have haste. So the 6 mana one can attack immediately. You can rip more cards and kind of keep your like chain going, for lack of a better word. We've got new tools like Fanatic of Ronus, which taps for 4 if Maelstrom Wanderer or any of the other big things are on the field. But really what you're not seeing here, and I'm not telling you, at least I'm not telling you yet, is that there's really cool kind of old school cEDH combos that still exist because of this commander. So I'm still playing Cloudstone Curio, where I don't know of any other deck that is playing Cloudstone Curio.
It's really, really difficult.
So because of the way the Maelstrom Wanderer works, if it's on the field and you have a Cloudstone Curio, if you cast a creature and you have dorks that are mana positive because they have haste, you can go infinite with those dorks. And it is possible to stop you through Rhystic Study and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if you're doing this on turn 3, your opponents probably don't have a whole lot.
Yeah. Like, so, if you have a Fanatic of Ronos and a Birds of Paradise, like, you have infinite mana.
Yes.
And it is so difficult to do that in a world without Dockside. And so one of the things, kind of going back to the distraction makers they've been talking about, is something that really gets ahead of kind of Rhystic Studies is just insane amount of mana, which you kind of have to have when your commander costs 8.
The other really cool thing that is not really printed on the commander is that it is an outlet for infinite mana. Because when you cast it, or if you bounce it to hand, or even just send it to the command zone, if you have infinite mana, you can just cast it over and over again and cascade through your entire deck, finding actual win cons. So things like Kiki Jiki plus an untapper will make infinite hasty whatever, and then you can just swing at people. Or Intruder Alarm plus Kiki Jiki, you make infinite whatever creature you have, and then
whatever you want.
you can Displacer Kitten plus Atali and try to loop that way, and that's a way to win through like One Ring Protection, where you just cast all the spells in your opponent's deck. I'm sure you'll find something. Oh wait, they don't have a library anymore. You just pass the turn, they die.
Yeah.
It's also a food chain outlet. So because you can loop Squee over and over again with food chain, then you send your commander to your command zone, then you cast it over and over again. You can do things like that.
And even if you don't have Squee, because your commander is finding you so many value pieces, and because you've built it around having a really large creature base. I mean, in the game that we played after our top 16 game, you were like having Aether Channeler enter and have the ETB creating a bird so that you could exile both to create 5 creature mana in addition to that. And there's just I think I guess we both kind of built decks with this kind of like, let's fuck around and find out kind of mentality. And I'm just really enjoying that right now. I think that's one of the things that Simic can offer. And especially I think that being able to splash red in this gives you a lot of extra fun tech as well. I think we're just both having a lot of fun just putting our head down and running right into the rest of the pod. And it's fun. I'm enjoying cEDH right now.
So I
forgot about this.
I won my one game by resolving a Genesis ultimatum, and I put just like 5 heinous permanents onto the battlefield. And everyone's like, like that stuff is really cool. It's really fun. Am I going to say it's the best deck in the format? No. Am I going to take it apart? also know like
Yeah.
it's going to be in the bag for a while. You can play Delayed Blast Fireball for its exile, because Cascade's exile, you cast from exile and you just wipe their opponent's boards and they don't have anything, and it gives you enough time to kind of go for it. One of the win cons with, if you're able to cast Maelstrom Wander infinitely, and this is probably the last thing I'll talk about, is Nexus of Fate. So you can say, okay, I'm going to cast Maelstrom Wander infinite times over and over again. I'm going to only cascade into Nexus of Fate. I'm going to put infinite extra turns on the stack, and then I'm going to take my turns and swing at you over and over again. And then one of the other cool aspects about the deck is that because everything has haste, you just end up with like a lot of these giant beaters, and you're like, oh no, I was stopped. Anyway, I'm going to swing at you for 23.
Yeah.
On like turn 3 or turn 4. And then the blue farm player is like, oh God.
It happens all the time. It's so much fun to watch. I love playing against this deck because I think it captures the spirit of what a lot of people are trying to get in casual, but in a competitively viable way. And I think it's unique that a deck gets to do that. Super duper cool. We'll have the link to this list in the details. If it looks interesting, would highly recommend trying it. I think Ragthrass players can agree. It's a great time to be in Teamer, and this is a really unique take on it. Speaking of trying out new things, we've got a collection of Final Fantasy cards in the next few tabs. Some of which, next 3, are what we think might be potential commanders, and after that are cards that we think are going to be potentially in the 99. So we're going to try and talk them over a little bit, make some predictions. And
I don't know how to pronounce this. We're going to call it Xenos.
I'm going to say Xenos. Kingdom Hearts fan. Sorry, Final Fantasy fans.
Jeez, dude. We're getting immediately downvoted for that one. Thank you.
Let us know. I'm going to guess Xenos. You could go with Galvis, or we could just say yay. Anyways, so the big
don't say yay. There's some
we'll stick with Xenos. Old ZG. So on the front, nothing too crazy. When it enters, you can choose an opponent you control until end of turn. Creatures other than Xenos, I'll get -2/-2.
This is very Yawgmoth coded.
Yeah, kind of like a massacre worm effect. But when the creature leaves the battlefield, it transforms, and here's what gets really crazy.
That art's so cool.
When it transforms, you choose an opponent, and when they lose the game, you win the game. What I think is super interesting is an issue that cEDH and Commander in general has had with kind of like rush or aggro strategies is that you have to get through 3 opponents' life totals to win. But this commander says you only have to get through 1.
How do you make one person lose in black?
I don't know. I mean, you've got an 8/8 flyer, so that's a good place to start. You've got all those like weird like black enchantment, maybe random.
So you're saying when it transforms, so when it leaves the battlefield, so it doesn't necessarily. When it transforms, it doesn't need haste because it's presuming that it's already been there for a turn or whatever.
I believe so. Yeah, because
this is not like, leaving and then coming back.
Yeah,
it's just flipping.
This is like growing rights of Itlamok, where it's just like whoop, as opposed to like the battles where they like exile then they come back. So I don't think this.
Yeah, the battles are cast. Yeah, but yeah, that's a good example.
And it's not hard to do because it's -2/-2, so you can just hit like an Esper Sentinel or something as long as it wasn't put out with a hash of time or something like that. Kind
of lends it to competitive because there's so many things you can kill with -2/-2. But is there any way to bump this to 21 power?
Dude, do we think it's time for Voltron?
I don't know. There's going to be some that I guarantee you that this is going to see play. I have no idea how well it's going to do. Probably not that well. It's mono black.
Mono black is rough to be in. I think we have some incredibly strong commanders like Yawgmoth who struggle to see kind of consistency because even though you have access to so many super duper solid tutors, you don't have access to as much interaction as you might expect, especially at instant speed, which can be really difficult. And then
didn't you play Yawgmoth for a bit?
I did. It was so much fun.
Didn't I give you a Yawgmoth for your birthday or something?
For my birthday.
Oh, okay.
I still have it's I've taken apart almost every other deck, but I've left that one together because I was like, oh, Yawgmoth. It's so much fun. It's incredibly fun.
Yeah, you were doing well with it for a while.
But if
that commander kind of says draw cards though, right?
Yeah. it opens so many different interesting combos.
Okay.
But, this is a rough time in cEDH to be in monocolors, especially if that color is not blue.
Or Magda.
or Magda. So I think someone's going to pick this up. I can almost guarantee that me and you are going to see someone playing this in a tournament by the end of the year. But I also highly expect to see a Snap or a Chain of Vapor or a Into the Flood Moth.
And then the table goes, okay, anyway.
And we got him.
Do you think that is there any room for this in the 99 of anything? Probably not. There's all the cEDH win cons are like, I win the game, not you lose the game.
I think if this commander also had a way of like making someone lose, where like if you attack the player and they do not block, like they lose or something, and then you win, like something like that.
I feel like there's something I'm missing. Just like trying to connect dots here. But I remember when I played casual, I had a mono black Shieldred, 4-mana Shieldred deck that I would often just cast Peer into the Abyss and kill someone.
Oh, nice.
With. So like that makes me think of this a little bit, because I would be like, oh, I can kill one person, and then what do I do with the other two? I don't know. It's casual. Like, we'll figure something out.
I'll figure something out.
But yeah, like that's kind of like what this lends to. I think.
Like your backup plan is like OBM dark deal kind of stuff. Like, so I think this would need a little bit more to make it out of range. But I do think it says win the game on it, and someone's going to pick it up. If you play it and then you never drop a game on this commander, hats off to you. Come
play in our league.
Come play in our league. Next one. This one I think probably has a lot more legs. I've seen a lot of talk about this online. We've got Vivi Orienteer. Legendary creature, wizard, of course. Is it, one colorless, blue and a red. You pay 0. You don't have to tap. You just pay 0, and you add X mana in any combination of blue or red, where X is their power, and you can only activate it during your turn and only once a turn. So it's kind of like a Wishclaw effect. And then the bottom half says, whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Vivi Orienteer, and it deals 1 damage to each opponent.
There's something here. I think we were talking about like Displacer Kitten. I think that's a little bit much, maybe, to like go off and storm with this. But I can easily see that there's probably it cares about non-creature spells. So there's probably a Jorah-esque Curio build of this that could go pretty fast.
The list I put together for this was a polymorph list. Because one, in testing, it is so like you can cast them for 3, and then exactly like you said, you play a Mox Amber, Soul Ring into an Arcane Signet, and in addition to ramping up mana with your artifacts, you're also generating a lot of specifically colored pips with a commander.
Well, you're also like banking mana, like storing it.
Which means this commander is a value engine, but also the bottom half makes them a combo piece. So if you're doing a Hullbreaker loop, if you have your commander out, you're pinging the table the entire time.
Well, so it's an outlet for Hullbreaker, because if you have Hullbreaker, you make infinite mana, and you just cast this. Then I'll keep casting. Okay, you die.
And if you have the new Niv Mizzet, whenever you cast a non-creature, you're going to deal 1 damage to each of your opponent, and then you'll draw 3.
We're going to see a lot of this card.
So I was talking with Dom actually about it.
Of course you were.
Of course I was. So if you cast your commander and then any ritual and then cast Dragon Storm, it gets both Niv Mizzets, which are then going to kill all your opponents via triggered abilities as soon as you cast any non-creature spell, or even if you just draw a card.
I know we were just talking about Maelstrom Water, but it is kind of incredible when you have a deck that just generates a lot of mana. How many high mana things you can just stuff in the deck and like do okay with. So not to say that this is in any way related to that, but one of the games that we had in the tournament, I was like, dang, I have all this mana. I just still like don't know what to do with it. And then I drew Niv Mizzet, like the 6 mana, like a Perun, and I was like, blue, 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 red, red, red. Oh, okay. And yeah, I mean, like that turns the corner. So I think that I don't know that blue and red has had a mana generator like this since Malcolm Kedis.
Yeah.
But that deck is so hyper focused on doing the pirate stuff where this is like, I don't know, the door's kind of wide open.
Your combo piece is a non-creature spell, which is really, really broad as opposed to needing a Glinthorn Buccaneer in non-creature tutor colors. It's also funny that we were just talking about Maelstrom Wanderer because I was talking with Holden Pryo. Shout out to Holden. And he was talking about how Nexus of Fate is also a win condition in here. Because there's so many things that just like draw your whole deck out. And it's like a super wheel heavy list because you can just cast a ton of non-creatures, wheel, and then it's okay if you don't get rocks from your wheel. Your commander batteried, it stored all this mana for you to then just keep chaining. And so we'll see how it plays out. I'm super interested in it. It may be kind of like a Hashaton thing where it's just a little too quirky.
I like how we're referring to commanders as like a Hashaton thing or like a Hashaton situation, because if you've been following our channel for any length of time at this point, we had a video early on where we talked about like how we were not fans of Hashaton and how Hashaton was like not it, and then we've kind of continued to see it like not do super well. I don't think this is going to be quite that situation. I'm predicting that it's going to be much stronger than that.
Sorry, Church. I think Hashaton fizzled in a lot of pilots' hands. I think based off the potential power of this, I think it gives you a lot more options, as well as there's not going to be there's not like a boogeyman combo with this, right? Like so I'm building it as like polymorph, but I mean
are you just polymorphing Vivi into
literally just polymorphing Vivi? So you just, and then you get like a Hullbreaker out, and then you just, I'm sure you'll find a way to generate 5 mana with a Hullbreaker. But there's no like split second combo though. There's no like secret sauce. I think is one of the stronger 2-color shells right now, and what it's been lacking is a commander that was able to bridge the gap between combo piece and value engine without having to dip in card quality. I think Malcolm Kedis is really, really good and also has some pretty strong polymorph lines actually. But
I can foresee a problem in this deck being card draw, but if you're solving that problem with things like Ristic Study and Copy Enchantment and stuff like that, that helps a lot. Also just running a surplus of wheels, you're bound to find one eventually and then rip it and then just see where it takes you. I think that's kind of a fine thing. That's kind of like what Rogsai does a lot is you have some sort of mana generation or mana battery in the command zone. I know that's not really written on Rograck, but that's how he's used.
Tell that to Phyrexian Tower.
So like when you stuff more card draw in the 99, you're going to get there eventually. So I can see the same play pattern with this.
I also can see, just like you said, I think the biggest issue that this commander might run into is that it doesn't draw cards. And that is really, really, really important in cEDH.
You can run curiosity effects.
Curiosity, or Ophidian Eye effects are crazy strong, right? Because casting your Mox Diamond is going to draw you 3 cards. Yeah. And so there's all sorts of little interactions. I can't wait to see how it plays. I am incredibly interested in practicing a list. So I think this is one that is going to see a lot of play in terms of viability. Time will tell.
Yeah. Do you think it'll see play in 99 of lists?
I think the both combo effect and the outlet effect, where like this is just it just is going to generate you a lot of mana and then also do a ton of damage.
I wonder if this is a Krark Sakashima card. It might be close. It is a wizard.
It is a wizard. But do you feel like Krark usually gets choked on mana or on cards?
It's hard to say. I know that the mana generation effects are really, really good because I often find myself looking for the Stormkiln Artist and stuff like that because that really just allows me to take it to the next level. Sometimes I get choked on mana. Sometimes I get choked on cards. It's kind of like a half and half.
Yeah.
So I know this solves one problem but not the other. I think that's just kind of, to me, I'm like, decks that cast a lot of non-creatures.
Yeah.
Krark is definitely one of them.
I think you may have a hard time outside of a 3-color shell. Like I could see, a Jeskai deck wanting this. I could see a Grixis deck wanting this. But I think once you're in 4 or 5 colors,
no. It's not quite a blue farm card, is it?
No, not quite.
Is it?
You want to take this one?
Yeah. So, what is it? Is it Noctis?
Noctis.
Man, I don't know any of these names.
Prince of Lucius.
Yeah, I'm not a.
No,
I'm not a Final Fantasy dude. So
sorry, Noctis. We do not know who you are.
it is a 4 mana, 4/3 human noble with lifelink, and you may cast artifact spells from your graveyard by paying 3 life, in addition to paying their other costs. If you cast a spell this way, that artifact enters with a finality counter on it. Finality counters are if it were to leave the battlefield for any reason, exile it, I think, is just the short version of that.
Yeah, I think because it can't go from the graveyard to your hand, I don't think. If you scroll, do they have the Oracle text updated?
Jeez.
We'll see.
Nope. That's cool. Thank you.
Whoa, he's in the Matrix.
I don't know. Anyway, that part's not super important, but what I did identify and other people identified about this card is that it combos with Mox Diamond and Aetherflux Reservoir.
Aetherflux Reservoir in 2025.
Every deck in cEDH for the most part plays Mox Diamond. I can't really think of a deck that doesn't, because it's just free basically. So if you're playing Mox Diamond, then you're already 2/3 of the way there with the combo. So you just need to play Aetherflux, which is unfortunate because that means you're playing Aetherflux. I don't particularly like the card. Like, it's fine. It's kind of a cool casual card, but like it doesn't really do much. The idea is that if you have an Aetherflux on the field and you have Mox Diamond either in your hand or in the graveyard, you can cast Mox Diamond over and over again. And because if you don't discard a land to it, it will just go back into your graveyard. So the first time you cast it from the graveyard, you pay 3 life. It goes back to the graveyard, you pay 2 life. Or you pay 3 life every time. And then with Aetherflux, you gain increasing amounts of life. And then you will be life positive, casting the Mox Diamond over and over again.
Heck yeah.
Then you will kill the table. The problem I see with this is that this is not like Naya or something. It's in Esper. So you're already in really, really strong colors in which you don't really need to be doing this.
Yeah. I think this is a good example of a commander that is really, really interesting, but is potentially going to be beat to the punch by like Tivit or something else, maybe Hashaton. But like, my mind goes to like Arkham Dagson or Oswald Fiddlebender, and you can do like you can Sonic Screwdriver them to untap them, eat it, and then cast it for 1, and I'm sure you can do loops where you just work your way up to like a crazy fast like Chromatic Orrery or like Cut of a Jewel or something like that. But at the end of the day, I don't know. Like, Noctis has to kind of find a way to beat Tivit times Sieve in order to like not to say that like if you play Noctis I'm going to get mad at you, but like I think if you play Noctis you're going to run into why am I not playing another Esper deck?
I see a turn 3 commander that allows you to do a turn 4 double Lotus Petal, which is something you can do.
Yeah.
But is it good? I don't think it's that good.
Dude,
maybe there's a combo we're missing if you find one or you know of one.
I love when my commanders make me 2 mana on turn 4.
Yeah, it's close, but not quite.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said for like they are a human, and a lot of the combo pieces that are in the kind of like artifact creature space are also humans, as well as the fact that like the life isn't based off of like cost or anything. It's just a static 3. There's a lot of like little things that I think someone could play this list, have a really good time, and they could be one of those people that we look at a top 4 and we're like, way to go, like way to get their Noctis. But I don't know if I see this as being like there's a Noctis.
I also foresee a future in which we see a Noctis list. We look at the list, it's running the Aetherflux combo, then the player gets interviewed and they're like, I just went with Oracle. Like, it doesn't scream to me that it needs an additional combo.
What about the 99?
Don't you just run Luris instead of this in the 99?
Do probably just run Luris.
Like, this screams Luris to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like Luris isn't seeing play.
If this was just 3 cost Esper, I feel like
it's closer.
I feel like it's a lot closer. But I think 4 mana is.
But also, you have to pay 3 life.
Yeah.
So like, if you're trying to loop something, it kind of stops you. Like, that's the whole point. It stops you from looping the thing.
And a lot of the big artifacts that you want, you have a hard way of getting them into the graveyard. Like, how do you get Aetherflux down there?
But you still have to pay for 4 mana for it. It's 4 mana and 3 life if it's in your yard.
Yeah.
I mean, you can entomb it, right?
Oh, but then you're running Entomb in an artifact deck. And if you're going to do that, oh, man, heaven help me, just play Master of Keys.
Yeah, and like Master of Keys isn't really seeing play either. So I think we just need to be realistic about these cards. And it's very clear that Wizards is saying, don't break this or you can't break this. Like it's written in such a way that's like you can't loop it because of the finality counter. And you also have to pay 3 life, so it's like another negative downside to it. So this screams like very close to cEDH, but it's just kind of artificially brick walled.
Yeah. But hey, traditional caveat would be super excited to be proved wrong if there's some kind of like a Boro Breeze color stuff out here and this card is crazy. I will watch a YouTube lore video of why this guy is called the Prince of Lucius.
This is the one character I know from Final Fantasy.
I know this one.
And apparently they're doing a bunch of like really cool prints.
Yeah, they're doing like the LCI Mana Crypt thing where it's like in a ton of different colors.
I just want to bring up a couple. They're just kind of cool.
Oh, that is so cool.
Excuse me. Green.
Now it's green. Now it's red.
That's pink.
It's kind of like a grayish, like somewhere.
We know you're colorblind. Anyway, this is Bird Glarb,
Bird Glarb,
but like not legendary.
Yeah.
It literally the first line is Glarb, and then the second line is like Glarb, but instead of 4, it's Bird.
Yeah.
I think that you were mentioning that this could potentially be like a Derevi card.
This could be a pretty good Derevi. It's gonna Derevi already has the craziest turn 2 spikes, so being able to double those ETBs, I think.
But okay, well, hold on, I'm gonna stop you there. So if Derevi normally has a turn 2 spike, and this is 3 mana, how can it have a turn 2 spike?
I think it probably
with this card. Like, let's say you get this card on in your hand, in your opening hand, right? You go, are you getting this on turn 1? The answer is probably no. Okay, so are you?
Bant?
Okay, so you Ancient Tomb, Lotus Petal, Traveling Chocobo.
Chocobo.
Turn 1, okay?
Yeah.
And then turn 2, you have an Ancient Tomb and you have no lands. Then how do you get Derevi?
First, you play your Crumbling Vestige, which is going to generate 1 color on ETB.
But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, like, I think my idea with this is that, yes, Derevi normally has like a good turn 2, turn 3 spike where you can generate more or additional mana. But this cares about ETBs. So one of the hindering parts is that you must have it before you have Derevi. And it's relatively the same cost as Derevi.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think this card is going to be pretty similar to, which I guess makes sense given its cost, a 6, where you want
6 the card.
6 the card.
Not the cost 6.
Or the number. Yeah.
Thank you, Wizards.
Thank you, Wizards. You want this card because it doesn't open any windows for you. It just smooths the road on the way there. The precognition effects are really, really helpful, especially like things like lands. And then there are a lot of, if you're in green, there's some pretty good birds, especially if you're also in blue.
But do any of the birds, like Birds of Paradise, doesn't have haste, so you can cast it from the top. But then what? And then the precognition effect normally is strong if there's an effect attached to it that lets you manipulate the top, like Glarb. This doesn't really let you manipulate the top. It lets you play a land. But like, it doesn't really get you anywhere. It's close, but like the thing that I'm seeing about the set so far, the things that are interesting are close but not quite there, with the exception of the Is It Commander. I think that Wizards is very aware that Standard is a much lower power level than something like Modern or like a Masters set, for example, where in cEDH we see a lot of our card pool come from these Modern Horizons sets or the Lord of the Rings set that is Modern legal, or a Commander Masters set or a Ultimate Masters or Double Masters set. So I think, given the context that Final Fantasy is Standard legal, we're going to see these things that read like they will see play in cEDH, and people are going to find or try to find ways to break them, and then they're going to find that they have to jump through so many hoops to break it that they've lost the plot. They've like kind of missed the forest for the trees, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think this is going to join the litany of mono green creatures that are really, really interesting, and as soon as you're no longer in 2 colors, are going to be really, really hard to justify.
Sure.
I think there's definitely some ways that this could like kind of be like a Delny in your deck. Like, you know, obviously like this is like totally cracked in Lumra, but I think that this.
You think it's totally cracked in Lumra
because it doubles land ETBs.
Yeah. Okay.
If you play, you know, the Nuka.
I actually think the land part is probably the most relevant part. The land ETB part.
I'm trying to think. What
is this a Kodama card?
Oh, so if a land triggers Kodama, I'll get 2/0 Kodama drops.
Yeah.
Oh my god! And I can play.
And wait, hold on.
If you subtlety Ishai to the top, I can play it.
Wait, not only 2 Kodama drops, but like Tireless Provisioner and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Is that correct? Causes the trigger of a permanent you control.
That means the bounce lands are going to put 2 back, though. Is that good or bad?
You just respond to it again, right?
That's true. You just layer it.
Yeah.
So, that's interesting.
This card's insane. This card is absolutely cracked. We've broken it.
We've changed our mind.
Yeah.
Splash screen so you can run this card.
Run Kodama is one of your commanders so you can run this card.
I think this card is absolutely cEDH viable. I do not think it'll reach staple status.
No. Yeah.
I think there are going to be a handful of decks that love it, and every other deck is going to forget about it, and that's okay.
Yep.
We'll remember you, Chocobo.
And then we'll lose to it and be like, fuck,
I can't believe I forgot about it.
All right, I got to talk about this thing.
Yeah, rip off the Band-Aid.
As a member of the Glarb Discord, this card is ass. I was asked why I'm comparing this card to Rhystic Study, and I said, my brother in Christ, look at the mana cost. Like, I would rather run Rhystic Study, Copy Enchantment, and Mirror Maid compared to this card in Glarb, at least. Other decks would see play potentially, at least from a like a 30,000 foot view. If you don't know much about cEDH, you go, oh, Thrasios says scry on it. Yeah. We should run this in Thrasios because we're scrying all the time with Thrasios. But I think by the time you're doing that, you probably have other better things to do because you need like 3 mana and then a 4 mana for Thrasios. Or if you have Biomancer's Familiar and Training Grounds, and you're like, oh, I can do my Thrasios for 1. But if you're already doing Thrasios for 1, you're kind of winning.
Yeah.
Like you don't need the extra card draw to get you there. And then obviously if you're going infinite, you're just drawing your deck. So you don't really need this card in that case either.
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, what if there's a deck in which I just stuff all the Scry lands and the Surveil lands into it, and then like they're like drawing me cards on top. Like, but all those lands come in tapped, and like, is a tapped land worth drawing a card? Maybe. But then you're like that's like 6 lands in a 3-color deck. I don't know. I think the card's interesting and it's a good casual card. I don't think it's going to see cEDH play.
I think it's going to get the Polywog treatment. I think when you get 15 cards in and you're like, oh fuck, what other cards are Sultai supposed to run? So you go to the EDH rec in the top of Moxfield and you're going through and you're on your Bayou and you're on your Arcane Signet and you're gonna see a Matoya and you're like, oh sure, why not? And then you're gonna get to 108 cards and you're like, fuck, okay, Walking Ballista gone, Diabolic Intent gone. How is Matoya still here? Get out of here!
Yeah.
And then you're gonna do that for the next year.
I think that as cEDH players, we need to be really, really careful about how we evaluate cards and start focusing on looking at cards and going, is this good? Is this good enough? Will it see play in any particular archetypes? And in Glarb specifically, this reads, pay 3 mana after you've cast your commander, and if your commander is on the field and it doesn't have Summoning Sickness, draw a card per turn cycle. And that's just not good enough.
What if it said whenever a player scries or surveils?
I'd consider it more, but it's kind of a good against Thrasios then.
Yeah,
I'd probably run it. Yeah,
it weirdly puts you in Runic Armasaur and Verity Circle territory.
Sure, and we're not playing those cards.
We are not playing those cards.
Should we be playing those cards?
They say draw cards on them. They all say 3 mana. 3 mana is a really unique cost in cEDH because you're either doing 2 things. You are casting a card like this because you're planning on dying in the chair that you're sitting in, right? Because you're playing a Ristic Study or some kind of effect like that. Or
it's like that meme with the skeleton just like...
you are making the decision of like, we are going to time. And I do not know if I want to be casting Matoya if we are going to time, or you are tutoring for something or trying to get a combo piece or a commander out. And so I think that's where I think 3 CMC is cheap enough that it's attractive of like, oh, what if I got this out on turn 2? And also like this effect, you are going to see it in your hand, and you are going to feel so bad on turn 2 that you will just leave your mana open so that you're able to cast your Swan Song.
This is getting pitched to Force of Will like very quickly. Yeah. This is kind of the same conversation we had with the Chocobo and Derevi, because Derevi is kind of a similar casting cost. You're going opposite of what the deck wants to do, and we'll use Glarb as an example. One of the fallback plans is playing Glarb on turn 2, and if you can play Glarb on turn 2, you can kind of survive and get there. This is also the same mana cost as Glarb. So like, are you playing this before Glarb? No, because then you're waiting 2 turns because Glarb has Summoning Sickness, right? So you can't even tap it in and draw a card immediately. You have to play Glarb first, then you play this after. Then you're like kind of tapping out to play this, and that's showing your opponents, I don't have anything, and I don't have anything better to do.
Yeah, like so, kind of going with the I think the decks that this would be best in are Glarb and Thrasios, which means you are more than likely casting this on turn 3. And turn 3 is when you either should be able to see the finish line of the game or begin to imagine what kind of like final battle is going to take place.
I just think you need to be doing something impactful by turn 3.
Yeah, you're like, yes, I very much agree. I think like turn 3 is kind of when you've cemented like I am a player that you will have to get through in order to win, or no one needs to call a judge over when you use the bathroom.
Glarb and Thrasios decks are also pretty well sorted out, and the cards I think that are being released need to be particularly strong to find a place in those lists. And I don't think this is quite it. Yeah,
I feel bad, but I actually would definitely play Verity Circle over this.
Yeah.
Or Heartwood Star Color, but that's me.
You don't see my ass playing it, right? So
I mean, if you guys have an experience where it's absolutely cracked, like let us know.
And we won't believe you.
Yeah. Yeah, make sure you record it for the league, of course. This is a card that I think has the potential to make it to staple territory pretty quickly. So it reads, and it's interesting to say this about a tap land, but this land enters tapped unless it is your first, second, or third turn of the game. You can tap to add a colorless at any time, and then you can also pay 1 life and add 1 mana of any color.
I think they were really close with the design on this card, but they messed up. Do you see how they might have messed up?
Is it because Town Tribal is like crazy strong right now?
Oh my god, it has a type.
Yeah.
Oh god, I didn't see that. No.
Town Tribal is actually going to be a thing. We're looking at some of the other lands.
No, so I think the problem is that they're making you track something that's not normally tracked, which is first, second, or first, second, or third turn of the game. They should have just said if this is your first, second, or third land, it enters untapped.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because
If you have 2 or fewer lands,
yeah,
this enters untapped.
yeah,
Or 3, or however they want to phrase it, right? But they're making me track how many turns are happening now.
we're in like
and
day-night territory.
And then now I'm like looking at,
Yeah.
It's stuff like that. Like I'm like, oh, I have 1 land, so that means that, I missed that land drop. And
I mean, this is going to be another card that makes me wish I was playing on Arena, and I hate wishing I was playing on Arena.
yeah, because the arena just tracks it for you.
Yeah.
That said, it's a multicolor land.
Yeah.
It's very similar to Spire of Industry, where you have that. Basically, that's what the bottom text is. And yeah, I mean, it's 5-color land. It's going to see play.
Yeah, I feel like I would. This
is like Rogsai territory for sure.
I think this is I think this is going to go in a lot of 4 and 5 color piles, even if they're not planning on going super fast. Because I think it is uncommon in cEDH to see a player make more than 4 land drops.
Even if you do, by the time that you're on your 4th turn, you probably have your selection of lands, so that like this is not going to be your only land in hand on turn 4.
Yeah, like this is. I think this land is going to be really good when it matters, and like I have seen even in 2 colors. I see so many hands where I have like a turn 1 fish and a soul ring, but I don't have any blue mana. And I think that this
you have like you're in Kinnan and you have like forest, soul ring, fish, and you're like,
no. Yeah. Why did I put Disciple of Freyalise in this damn thing?
That's a good card.
I think that like especially the fact that like there might be the temptation to put this in the same kind of bracket as like gemstone mines and things like that. But the fact that it doesn't deplete, like its drawback is that it has to be in the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd game. Turn
of the game.
Can you imagine if this was like if this is your 3rd game of the day? I think that is
if you're crashing out of this tournament, this enters untapped.
It turns into this weird like dexterity check. We will see. But my initial suspicion is that this land is almost always going to come in untapped.
Yeah. I will totally agree with you on that, especially because I've been editing gameplay, and most of the games that I've been watching have been ending around turn 5. And some extend a little bit longer than that, turn 6. But this land does not matter in the slightest on turn 6 or even turn 5. So really turn 4 is kind of the hinge point for that. And even then, like I said, on turn 4, you probably have more than 1 land at your disposal at that time. So this will not even be relevant. It'll get pitched to Mox Diamond faster than you can blink an eye.
Yeah, I don't think you like cut Forbidden Orchard for this, but I think you would be super comfortable cutting like a Godless Shrine or something to put this in.
Yeah. The 3 and 4 color decks are going to start cutting their less powerful, less used 2 color lands to play this.
Yeah, like I don't, like I wouldn't see like a Ragthrass cutting their like breeding pool for this, but I could very easily see.
I could potentially cut Undercity Sewers for this in Rongsai.
I could see that. Yeah. Oh, and Rogsai. Yeah.
Like the Surveil's strong, and it's good to like time walk yourself or whatever for free.
Yeah.
For free. But also like 3 colors is pretty dang strong. So
yeah, especially in a deck that's pip heavy. Anyways, at least my guess is I think this is going to be a staple
for sure. I think so too.
Starting town stocks are up.
Let's quickly go over this. All right. A couple things from Reddit this week. Has Midrange Hell opened the field for new viable commanders?
It's hard to turbo. Stacks isn't great. So mid-range. Are there commanders that are good now or viable now that weren't before?
Well, it's hard to say because of how you. Let's start from the framing of we're not just going to jam the Ristic Study and copies of Ristics into every deck because that's what you and I would do to make a commander viable.
Let's extend beyond ourselves and our respective 4 copies of Ristic Study.
So I think that's definitely a way to make any commander viable. But overall, I think we're seeing a few more commanders now than we were before.
I think we're seeing Wheeliod. I think that's a commander that responds really well to draws. I think something that I am surprised to have not seen more of is Obnix, because I think Obnix is really, really good at punishing card draw.
I think there's just a lot of removal right now, and if Obnix gets removed, it's really tough to recover.
Yeah, like the fact that snapback stocks are up is really bad for Rakdos.
But I mean, I've seen decks like Infamous Cruel Claw do well.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen. I mean, I'm playing Maelstrom Wanderer and I'm winning games, and like that deck is still fine.
We started. I mean,
to answer the question, I don't know about more. I think like cEDH has always been fairly diverse.
Yeah.
At least from when we started playing. So more diverse than before the bans. I don't know.
I think we only started playing Kodama because things started slowing down. Kodama feels real bad in the.
I was playing Kodama pre-ban with red though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you had to be in red for Dockside.
Yeah.
Kodama Dargo is kind of rough.
Yeah.
Without, dude, if you think Impulsive Pilferer is good.
Well, I mean, Kodama Sakashima was viable back then, but because you ran a bunch of clones, you cloned Dockside.
Yeah.
So
I think that like it's opened up some kind of partner pairings. Like I don't think Timna Thrass is as good if it's not kind of mid-range and sloggy.
Yeah, that's opened up Timna Thrass for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Back because that used to be a deck back way back when, but
yeah, way back in like Flash Hold. Not to say that as the deck speeds up, like Timna Thrass is going to disappear, but I think it came back in a really big way because of. I think some decks that are kind of being bullied out are Najila. I think it's hard to kind of get those warriors in when everyone has time to get. So
you're saying we lost some decks and we also gained some new ones? Because I felt like I lost Ragthrass because
I miss Ragtev.
That deck was awesome. Like I had so much fun with it, and then the bans came and I lost 3 cards, and it's like, okay, well, can the deck persevere? It did for a little bit, and then I was just like, man, there's just better things to be doing right now. So like it's in pieces over there somewhere, and like, yeah, we lost a bunch of decks and then we gained some new ones, but I think it's kind of net neutral. While you're thinking, I was gonna read this comment because I think it's very funny. Be careful what you read on the internet, kids. Anala was brought up. Anala is 5 mana and still one of the fastest in my opinion. Anala is a bad example because you don't cast Anala at all.
That's not true. I've seen Jay cast Anala twice.
Yeah, but I mean, just it's like people who don't play cEDH are opining on cEDH on the internet, and those comments are allowed to exist. I think it's fine, but like, downvote the comment because they're wrong. Like it shouldn't be agreed with. Like it's not. There's nothing of substance being provided there.
Something I just thought of is, I feel like if we were trapped in mid-range hell, like truly trapped, wouldn't Kenrith be a lot better?
Kenrith is seeing play and it's fine, but it's just another 5-color deck. Yeah. That's like,
it's fine.
It's fine. Lots of decks are fine.
Yeah. So I guess my answer to this would say, I don't think it has made commanders good, but I do think it has made some commanders viable.
That's fair. Do you think we're in mid-range hell?
I think we're in mid-range heaven. I love it. Whenever someone casts a spell and you have their 3 opponents all go, Rhystic, Smothering Tithe. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh man. When we go to time almost every time and all we're doing is talk. Big fan. Sorry guys. I'm so sorry. I'm a huge part of the problem. I love it so much.
It's interesting you say that. Were you part of some of the games the other night? Oh, no, you weren't. Okay. So quick little short story. On Friday, one of our commander nights, I was bringing Maelstrom Water. I played it literally all night. I won like between 5 and 6 games. 3 of those games I won in like 15 minutes or less, like 12 minutes.
Nice.
A friend of mine, Sam, was at the store. He was borrowing my Kinnan list. He won on like turn 2, turn 3 every time. We had so many people just jamming wins. We played probably 10, 12 games in the span of like 4 or 5 hours.
That's awesome.
It feels great, right?
That's really cool.
Like, so there were a couple mid-range games we had where we had that long, like, oh, everyone's established, everyone's stabilized. But then we just had like 80% of our games where people were just jamming. And it's like, that felt so cool. It felt so good. It gave me that taste of what it used to be. And like, I think a lot of that was just luck, and people were mulliganing and kind of trying to see how fast they could go, and
you just
stuff
kind
like
of playing out vibes.
Right. But, as much as I like the mid-range and stuff, I'm starting to think I just like cEDH regardless of what it is. Because I like the mid-range stuff.
I love the format.
But I also I love losing on turn 2. Like, I don't care.
It's novel to me. And you're like, especially if you're just playing with friends, like the fact that you can wrap a game up in like 15 minutes is so cool. I think we will be cutting Copy Enchantment and Mirror Maid definitely by the end of the year, possibly by the end of the summer. I think Turbo is kind of waiting in the wings.
Speak for yourself, bro.
The more I've just been
Get
noticing.
you a deck that can do both.
That I think is really important, especially right now. But,
Wrong side.
Be versatile.
Wrong side can turbo and it can mid range.
You can totally turbo and mid range.
You're right. I think we're gonna start to see people kind of sack up and start being proactive. Especially we saw the MTR IPG addenda be modified. So now that we have a hard 20-minute overtime limit, so that means that you have 80 minutes for your round and then 20 minutes for overtime. And if you don't win or nobody wins, the table draws. And nobody wants to draw because it feels bad, especially be forced to be like, oh, well, my win was on the stack.
Yeah, forced draws feel really bad.
But the way to fix that is just to go faster.
Which I think is like we don't have Dockside, so I don't think there's one card that people are going to discover and be like, whoa, this is crazy. But I think that more and more every week I'm hearing someone who picked up Rocco and they just love how fast it goes, or kind of like Maelstrom Wanderer, where you just blink and then you have all these permanents and you're just doing all this crazy stuff super duper fast.
I can't wait to show that deck off on the channel. Sorry.
Well, no, exactly. It's like the experience they have. You're not even playing the deck and you're just thinking about it. You're like, oh, it's so fun. And I think that people have had enough of having 40 card hands. And now I think people are going to start wanting wins in under 40 minutes. That's just fucking crazy, bro.
This deck's total mana value is 242. The average mana value of your main deck is 2.44. I think Rogsai is like 1.2 or like 1.1 or something. It's wild, dude.
Oh man, you're a man of extremes. But yeah, I think I think we see Turbo come back in a big way before the end of the year, potentially end of summer. I
do agree, but I think Turbo will look significantly different than what we are used to.
Absolutely.
So I don't know what that looks like, but I know that I'm seeing wins early and fast.
Okay.
And it's not like, I'm turboing out Nas and then I'm winning. It's just like, I found A plus B and I'm like, here it is. Stop me if you can.
Yeah. Maybe I play against the Highlands Ranch guys too much. But I think that squandered resources, Reign of Filth kind of stuff is what's going to bring it back. Yeah. I think that's what's going to give you that extra 2 or 3 mana you need to get your double blue pips.
Yep. Alrighty. Not Reign of Filth, though. That makes black.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Our next Reddit thread regarding...
That's true. That's really true.
Regarding player removal, forced draws, and legality. You want to give me a rundown of this?
Okay.
It seems like you probably remember this a little bit more than I do.
Taking it from the top. I've tried to find an answer on my own, but I'm an old man, and I've never been on the internet.
All right, hold on. Do you have a TLDR for this?
They are relevant. They're describing a situation where essentially, and I think we've all been there before.
Is it me? Am I the old man on the internet?
Am I the old man? You've got a player who is attempting a win, a player who is going to attempt a win, and a player in the middle who is trying to force a draw, and one of the players isn't willing to. So the conversation happens, why don't we just remove this one player from the game, and then we'll draw?
I think the reason is because it's basically collusion.
I think collusion is kind of like the word of the month. Which is relevant because we kind of had a big scandal with it earlier in the year. I think that this specific example is one that because of that kind of got addressed both at Fishbowl and Heisenberg, with Baldy saying
Baldy head judge, yeah, really awesome guy, and he's judging. Well, his event is the Steel City Spectacular, which is the invitational for Top Deck as well. Anyway, go on.
So he addressed it by saying, like, all 4 players have to agree to a draw. I do not care if there are only 2 players left in your game. All 4 players have to,
one of them's dead or whatever. Like, everyone must agree to a draw, which means that you cannot just kill one player and go, well, I'm removing your vote from you.
And so I think that is a great way to just take the conversation off the table. And so in short, the situation they're describing with some of the details switched around actually was pretty well represented as being ruled as collusion by judges. But I think what interested me most about this is if we want to adjust some of the details a lot, I think we end up in a much more common situation, which is you attempting a win, me with a counter spell, and saying, unless you agree to draw 2 other players, I am not going to counter this win attempt.
You and I have run into the situation both with other pods and also with each other in the pod. I think there was a situation where I was presenting a win.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I can't, I don't think I can draw here because I think I can win next. And the other 2 players are like, well, we're just going to let him win.
Yeah.
And they called your bluff. And they're like, okay. So I'm sitting here. I'm like, okay, now I'm playing this. Now I'm going, and they're like, yeah, man, go for it. And so I won. But I think what people will start to learn, if you haven't learned it already, is that losing the game does not get you points towards winning the tournament. So no one likes to draw, but no one likes to lose worse. Like, if you want to be a cEDH player, you have to hate to lose, which means that drawing is inherently better than losing, and winning is obviously better than both. So if you're presented with a situation, you need to work with your table to say, I'd like to walk away with a point because we cannot come to an agreement about how this is going to go forward, which means that somebody else is winning. And if you're saying that you're going to take 0 points for that, I would really like to know why. Because there's no competitive reason for you to take 0 points.
I think a counter argument that I've heard from some players is that even if it makes sense in the moment that 1 point is worth more than 0, once I flip that switch of instead of going for the win, I am going for something else. Even if we're zooming out, right, and it's better in the grand scheme of things. In this moment, I am taking winning off the table. That is a impossible. They would argue that is an impossible switch to flip back on in your next game. Is something I've heard kind of some players communicate.
I like to silo games. I don't like to bring aspects of the previous game with me to the next one. I think that it's not fair to the players at your next game because they don't know what happened at your last game. Maybe they do, or maybe one of them does, but who cares? It's a new game. You have 3 different commanders. You have 3 different players, most likely. That's fair, but that's a mindset switch that you need to fix. I'm not sitting down at the table going, oh, I'm going to draw. Sometimes I do that jokingly because I'm like, oh, it's Eric and Connor and Jason at the table. We're so drawing this game, right? But we're not.
Probably.
I mean, it's most likely we will because we'll gum up the game so bad that we get to that point. But
our way to a full stop.
Are any of us sitting down to actually not play the game? No, we're gonna play out of our minds best we can. But when you put 4 equally skilled players at the table, sometimes that happens.
I also think the idea, and this was a situation we're talking about, the idea that someone would let someone else win was in that moment so impossible for me to understand. Like it made sense to me that they were like scared of the position I was in, and it makes sense that if I don't agree to a draw, that like they have to find something else to do or some other leverage. But the idea of saying I am going to let someone win because you aren't doing what I want just really rubbed me the wrong way. I think that was what was really, really difficult for me about that situation. And I think
that's understandable too.
And I think that's where a lot of players kind of end up. Once again, I think this situation, when someone's saying like, "Oh, I will get rid of Logan," and then once he is no longer allowed to say anything, then we'll draw. Like that's kind of got me. But
I think that is something that used to happen quite a bit and is now getting pushed out by these tournament organizers and judges as we're starting to figure out what works and what is healthy for tournament cEDH.
Mm-hmm. And
so I'm not seeing these situations come up nearly as often or at all anymore. And then we're seeing a lot of judge calls for collusion or saying, I think this player is making very strange decisions and like, I need an adult. I need somebody to come like look at this and assess and make sure like I'm not going crazy or everything's happening above board here. I see a lot of this online talk about these things, but to me, I'm wondering if they're situations that they're concocting in their head or if they're playing with less skilled players at their local game store and they're playing cEDH or,
I would definitely kind of go back to kind of what we were talking about earlier. We are very much talking within the context of a tournament.
Yes.
And I would highly, highly encourage you, if you have a friend who is a judge or you know someone who's a judge, ask them, how many times have you ruled that a player was colluding with another player? And I think that is going to potentially shine a light on the emotional experience you have of feeling like people are colluding. Because it is absolutely true that people can either make really bad deals, be very bad politicers, or be taking strange game actions that don't have a point and that are costing everyone the game, including them.
There's so many factors. You could not know what their deck does, and then you're saying, well, you're just casting spells into my opponent's Ristic study, and it seems like you're just making them win.
Yeah, they could not know what their deck does. That happens all the time.
There's so many different factors, and a lot of it leads down to experience. And we talked about in the beginning of this episode, the more that we play, the less that we're finding that these issues are around.
Yeah. It's the...
And not that we're blind to these things, because we're very acutely aware of these issues. And because we're looking for them or we're trying to avoid them. Where if someone starts doing these things, we're like, okay, we can point the finger and say like, there's something going wrong here. But I can't even think of the last time that I had a serious run-in like this.
Yeah, which I am very grateful for, and I think a lot of that is on the back of tournament organizers and judges.
Yes.
And so if you are in a tournament space where you genuinely feel like that's happening, I would highly, highly encourage you, don't talk about it on Reddit, talk about it in Discord with the TOs and the judges.
Or just call the judge immediately. If anytime you feel like something is wrong, all of the top players will tell you to call a judge. The judges are there to help you, not hurt you. They're not going to drag you through the mud. They just want to figure out what's going on. They want to keep everything above board, because if things are not happening above board and word gets out that, the Mortal Kombat series is not good because they had judges that were allowing players to do this and that, and those events don't happen again. We want to have good events happen. We want cEDH to be a healthy format. It already has its own problems. We don't want to cause any more. But these situations are hard to navigate. They're hard to identify. But I don't think that they're happening quite as often as people say they are online.
Yeah. The rule of thumb that at least Baldy communicated to players of Fishbowl is games of Magic should be decided by games of Magic. And it's when you step outside of that, that things start to get dicey and in the territory we should call judge. And they're 100%
decide your game of Magic by game actions.
Let the cards do the talking. I mean, or you can also do the talking if you're me, because you put really bad cards in. And that's not to say that unless they're offering them hard cash, that there's no reason to call a judge. There are 100 other reasons that you could call a judge, and that a player could either be given a warning or have to, like, the board set would have to be around, or a judge would need to be involved. It's just, I think specifically collusion is one of those things that as I think the whole format is kind of being pushed forward, a lot of players kind of simultaneously kind of began to, like, interact and realize that it was something that was happening. And so I think that collusion is definitely something that does happen in cEDH, just not something as much as the cultural conscious might perceive it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the top comments was not collusion. They offered the draw. Everyone could have taken a draw. He refused. I think that's something that can happen in a well. Like, you don't win that game, or you don't draw. Yeah. And then everyone learns the consequences of that later.
Yeah, it's I've been in 2 games that were forced to draws just based off of time, and in both of those felt really, really bad. I walked away in both situations, like, kind of frustrated and I totally got to win. But I think those are great examples of I had to take a step back and be like, this is just part of the format I'm in. And we are in a super duper social format, and that can lead to some major feel bad situations if it's 1v3 and you're the one, and it's not because you're winning, but it's because
always
everyone else is forcing
1v3.
a draw.
It's always 1v3,
Yeah.
especially with Flash.
Oh, yeah.
You got 3 opponents, but that makes the wins that much sweeter because you're winning against 3 players. You're like, I'm the main character. Yeah. I won the game,
dude. Every time there's 30 cards on the stack, and everyone's like, and I'm like, do you guys have anything for this? And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, I've got something. Born upon to win.
You're not gonna like it.
You're not gonna like it. Oh yeah, it feels good. Well, hopefully, us and our community are going to continue to have more of those feel good kind of main character doing really, really good moments. Hopefully, you can even have them in our Discord league.
Yep. Where you can't draw, by the way. I mean, you can, but everyone's going to lose points.
Everyone's going to lose 7% of their points.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to both running and participating in the league, playing with you guys. We thought it would be a really good way to give our community the experience of what it's like to play in Denver, but also just connect on another level. And instead of just playing random games, we're actually being competitive, which is what we're based on. We want to do competitive Magic all the time. So it's just another way for us to be competitive.
And we're taking you guys down with us.
For sure. So come kick our ass in the league.
Absolutely.
Come win this Esper Sentinel. If more people keep signing up, we'll keep adding more prizes to the prize pool. We've already got 36 players signed up, and I can imagine quite a bit more coming. So we're really looking forward to your attendance.
Thank you guys for your attention over the course of this video. Always love getting to meet up with Logan and record these, kind of keep up on what's going on. And thank you guys for keeping up with us as we click through tabs.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.